Welcome to Scorched Earth and a general reading for the sign of Virgo, Sun, Moon or Ascendant for the month of November. I hope you are well. We're using the Pagan Otherworlds Tarot for you today. So let's get straight on with this and see what's going on with you. Could I have 3 cards for Virgo, please? Three cards for Virgo, please. Thank you. There's the first. In your recent past, we have the Moon. That's Cancer in the Major Arcana. Current energy, please. There we go. We have the Knight of Swords in reverse. Interesting. And then, let's put that one in there. What's coming towards Virgo for November, please? We have 2 cards. They are the Queen of Pentacles and the Emperor. Interesting. We have the 8 of Swords at the bottom of the deck here, a card that generally speaks to a sense of mental restriction. And I know that this is something that you've been battling on and off for some time with, Virgo, certainly for most of this year, but considerable part of last year and the year before as well. We do have beyond that the 9 of Swords and then the 4. And whilst it's a little more sword heavy than I would like, I'm actually not too concerned about the presence of the 9 of Swords here. Not too much, really. It follows on as a natural corollary from the 8. But for me, the 9 of Swords often talks about perspective and how our perspective is in some ways, you know, requiring a bit of adjustment. For it to be followed on then by the 4 of Swords, this is a card that speaks about healing. It talks about taking a break. It talks about taking a step back. And so it feels like where those swords start to become actually quite suffocating, consciously bringing them back down again to a more manageable level. Now, let's get some clarifiers. I'm sorry about the cluttering if you can hear me blind. It's quite breezy outside at the moment. See, we've got the Hangman and I've cut the deck here. I'm not surprised to see him at all. Let's have a look and see what we've got going on down here. Tell me about the Moon, please. Thank you. We have the Queen of Wands. And we have the Knight of Swords in the reverse again. So this is twice now that that's appearing here for you. Tell me about the Knight of Swords, please. Thank you. Queen of Swords this time. That's Libra energy. That's 3 queens you've got on the table. Tell me about the Knight of Swords. Thank you. And we have the 4 of Cups. And what about the Queen of Pentacles and the Emperor, please? We've got the Page of Cups has come out here. I'll just turn it around so you can see it. But we also have this card that I have been able to feel since I started your meditation, before I even began the camera rolling here, right? When I did your meditation, I felt one emotion. That was it. Clear as a bell, and it was surprise. And I was like, okay, I am quite surprised to feel surprise right now, but I'm gonna sit with it. And it did feel like everything was about to change, but it sort of comes in sideways, like a Deus Ex Machina. You know, it isn't a sense of you know the way that these things usually occur, whereby we identify that there is an ending or a change or something that needs to happen, and then we do it and we work through it and then we start something else. This is something that comes in sideways. It's something that you do not see, and it doesn't feel to me like it's an unpleasant thing either, right? It's very much Wheel of Fortune sort of territory. I'm going to put it back in, but the fact that it kind of hopped up and was showing its face over the top, it's like the whole card didn't come out. It was more like an indication that it's there and it's hovering around, but it's not quite ready to show its face yet. Tell me about this Queen of Pentacles and Emperor, please. We have the 2 of Pentacles. Ace of Pentacles tried to jump there, but didn't. I said one last card. How are Right, we've got the Death card and we've got the 10 of Pentacles, 10 of Wands. Right. At the bottom of the deck, we have the 8 of Pentacles. Why am I getting all of my suits mixed up? Oh, the sun is boiling my brain, I think, as I'm sitting here. It's absolutely mental. 2 days ago, it was freezing in the UK. Or certainly in the bit of the UK that I live in. And in the last day or so, suddenly the temperatures have started going back up again, and this is very confusing because I've been getting into winter mode, and now I'm not. Anyway, one thing is for certain. Things are going to be very different at the end of November to where they are now. But I feel like, in the best tradition of these things, there is an amount of discomfort that will be experienced first. And I need to be upfront and honest with you about that. And, you know, there's not really any way of spinning the 8 and 9 of Wands together to mean anything else. Like I said, I do like the fact, actually, that the 4 of Swords is sitting behind that, because it is finding peace in spite of, despite of, whatever's going on with you mentally, where it feels like the pressure is kind of building. It feels like a conscious step down of that energy by you. And we're kind of like, no, actually, I refuse to be ruled by this part of my brain that is constantly catastrophizing and constantly looking for things that are wrong, and constantly having me feeling like I'm in a state of restriction, because that actually is never true. It's literally never true. There is always something else that you can do. It isn't necessarily what you want to do, but it doesn't mean that the option doesn't exist. Now, the fact that it's combined here with the 8 of Pentacles does indicate that there is some considerable work for you to do, you know, in order to get to that place. But certainly with what we've seen with the Wheel of Fortune and now with the Death card and whatnot, there's something of a funny moon cycle here for you, is what I've just been told. I know I've got that moon card here, but moon cycles is not something that I usually pay that much attention to when I am doing these kind of readings. Like, I know we've got a actually fairly big full moon coming up in Scorpio, which I think is Tuesday here in the UK. I'm not sure why on there. I'm recording this on the 22nd, and it's on the 25th at least where I am. It might be earlier if you're on the left hand side of the planet and whatnot. So whether we're going from this moon on Tuesday, between that moon and what will be the full moon, I assume it is a new moon on Tuesday, for all of these things to play out, I think that's what it means. I mean, it's not what that card actually means to me. That was all coming from this over here. It is going to take one full lunar cycle, or one lunar cycle from new moon to full moon to work all of this out, or full moon to new moon, whichever way around it is. I cannot quite remember, to be honest. Go look it up. So let's get on with what we've got going on down here, because honestly it's kind of choppy, and it's sometimes when you put the cards out there's a very obvious progression of stuff that's going on, but this is bitty and it's choppy, and it feels like it's kind of, there's a to and fro energy here, almost like you're weighing something up and then you're saying no, or you know, you're approaching people who you need help from, and then you're going, no, I don't want this sort of help. Like, I'm just kind of spitballing the kind of energies that I'm feeling here. It will be different for each of you, but there's a sense of not really settling down and committing to one particular thing. It's like you go so far and then you come back, and you try a little bit and then you come back, and and communication has quite a bit to do with this. But let's start with your recent past, and we have the moon here, the card of Cancer, as I have already said, I believe. If I haven't, then I should have done. It talks about that which is unseen. Now, the way that I read the cards, more often than not, I tend to attribute that to one's subconscious, right? The stuff that's going on under the surface that we are quite often unaware of. But it can also mean things that are hidden from you, right? That which you do not see, and possibly that which you do not see that other people have. Because we do have this Queen of Wands here, and the Knight of Swords in reverse. Now, these are respectively Aries and Gemini energy. You could be dealing with any of these kind of people, and if you are, and those signs match, all the good. But if not, there's a certain energetic presentation here. Like, because the moon deals with things that are unseen, we've got as a corollary of that a sense of kind of, illusion, where it's quite difficult to know what to trust, to know who to trust, even if one might be able to trust oneself. And then we have these two cards down here. Now, the Queen of Wands feels to me like she's completely removed from you. This isn't you. You know, she's confident, she's dynamic, she's bold. She is literally at this point, you know, stood in a golden dress, elevated above everybody else, where she can be seen. Right? There's something quite prominent about this energy. But with this Knight of Swords in reverse, whether this is communication between you and this other person, and where it's broken down, in so much as there is no communication, or there seems to be one person who's putting one side of something, right? And it is this Queen of Wands here. And then there's you, who is experiencing life as the moon. Not quite sure what is real, what is not, right? What can be trusted, what cannot. In a great state of kind of fog, almost. And then this Knight of Swords with the Knight of Cups, who is in the upright, and the Justice card. Your feelings feel very muddled, is the honest truth. They just feel incredibly muddled. The Knight of Cups and the Justice card might sit together very nicely as those that we might feel were trying to do the right thing and saying the right thing and approaching others in the right way and whatnot. But this Knight of Swords is in reverse. So whether this is a breakdown in communication, or whether this person is saying things and it's not being communicated properly. And the Knight of Swords is at the bottom of the deck again. This is very strong Gemini energy and very strongly indicating that this is all about communication, and whether or not it's internal or external. Right? I hope you're following me, because this is giving me a headache trying to sit with this. Getting a little pain at the back of my head. And I'm wondering if this is yours. Like, you feel to me like you're trying to work something out, but there's something about the presentation of these cards here that are not making a lot of sense. Somebody is saying something. There is perhaps one side of a story, or, you know, somebody trying to be in charge here. And there's something about it that is just a little bit off. And for some reason, you do not feel like you are sitting with that here. It's not sitting well with you. This Knight of Swords could be a breakdown in communication between you and another person. But it could well be just somebody who is not communicating in this way, right? With a loving and open heart, in a way that seems to be, you know, going after what is right, you know, in a proper sense, in a big sense of what is right versus what is wrong. It would suggest to me that you perhaps have found yourself in some sort of situation where there is somebody with an ego much bigger than yours who has tried to set out reality as they see it, and it's just not working for you. It's just not chiming with you for some reason. And I feel like you're feeling bad about yourself for this one. Like, it's almost like you're taking this on board and you're internalizing it. Even though in the back of your head a little bit of this is saying this is bollocks, it's total bollocks, all of this. But it's like trying to find a way to prove that, and you can't. So whether this person is throwing a word salad at you, there's communication at the bottom of the deck again, right? Whether somebody is trying to deliberately obfuscate your understanding of a situation, or whether someone has got so swept up on their own feelings and their own, you know, whatever, what they think X, Y, and Z is, and they're trying very hard to push this with you, and yet it's I don't know, it's working in some ways, but it's not in others. When we come into your current energy, we've got this Knight of Swords still in the reverse here. Like, the lines of communication are not open, whether that is between you and yourself, in so much as kind of working out what you think about any particular thing. And sometimes when you're getting a barrage of crap from someone and possibly somebody who is really trying to win an argument over something. Like it just carries on so relentlessly that you do start questioning everything, and you do start wondering whether you really actually understand what's going on at all. Certainly not a good environment to try and order your thoughts in. And we've got this Queen of Swords and we've got the Four of Cups here, and that feels quite challenging, because in the midst of everything that I've just spoken about there, everything that I've just laid out, we've got the Queen of Swords who is trying to get to the root of the matter. She is trying to be discerning. She's trying to apply logic to this situation. And yet we've got a Four of Cups that is almost muddying the waters again. The Four of Cups for me is often we can see it where there are things like abandonment issues at play. You know, certainly a sense of being concerned about being rejected or left out of something. You know, sometimes it can talk about a grass is greener kind of attitude about stuff. But it feels to me like you're trying to get all sorts of cognitive processes off the ground and they're just not doing it. It's like you get so far and then you come back, like I was saying right at the beginning, right? So far and then you come back, and then so far this way and then you come back. Because the whole thing's really muddy. Tell me about this Queen of Swords and this Four of Cups. There you are. Right? There's the... I'll show you so you can actually see. There's the Knight of Pentacles. The Knight of Pentacles is trying to find a route through. Right? You could be protecting something that is really important to you. You could be trying to grow yourself as a human and all those kind of lovely things. Yeah, we've got what is important to you being held up here. And yet, there's no movement forwards. We have here, Queen of Swords, again, trying to make sense of it all. Are you trying to make your way around your own emotions? Are you trying to make sense of those? Are you trying to work out what is going on with you? Are you trying to work out why everything is so foggy? Like, in my experience, and I should just share this with you, Virgo, when I have been dealing with people who have tried to convince me that the sun is actually, made of cheese and the sky is green, and that, rain flows upward, which sounds ridiculous, right? And it is ridiculous, obviously. I'm being dramatic for effect. But I have been in relationships with people, not just intimate relationships, but, friendships and stuff as well, where somebody will literally argue that black is white because they have an agenda. It took me a long time to notice, but the thing that is the warning sign, the thing that is the red flag, is when I'm sitting there and I'm like, I don't understand. Like, when things feel fuzzy, when it feels like the moon is the dominant energy in a particular thing, when something doesn't quite make sense, and when there's that just one thing that's kind of knittering away at you, and you're like, but that doesn't make any sense. Well, why would that be the case? That's really odd. Now, I didn't trust myself at all when I was, back in the day, when I was having those kind of interactions with people, because I had been gaslit to such an extent that I believed that I was slightly mad, and I believed all sorts of things that I was told at that point. And later down the line, where all of this stuff came out and I was proven to be right, I actually didn't... It wasn't the pain of what I had discovered that was the dominant emotion that I felt. It was absolute fucking relief that I wasn't inventing things in my head. What I took from that was that it was really important for me to trust those feelings when they came up. Now, there's nothing here that feels like it's distinct enough for it to be a red flag, and I think that that's half of the problem. If it was a big red flag with a huge warning siren, then you would be able to go, I recognise that, right, I'm out, my dudes, I'm leaving. This is not playing this game with you anymore. But it's not like that. It's like being brushed up against something, by something in the dark. Like, you don't know if it's happened. You think that it's happened, you're pretty sure that it happened, but then it hasn't come back and the light's not on and you don't know if it's there or not. Maybe you've just made it up because your imagination is going in, you know, overload and stuff like that. It's not a comfortable energy to be in. And I don't know what area of your life you're experiencing this in, but it could literally be any one of them, right? This could be a situation that you're having at work. It could be something that's going on with friends. It could be something that is happening in your really close, intimate relationships. I mean, at a real outside pass, it could be the way that the two bits of your mind are talking to each other at the moment, right? And your conscious mind has just picked up a little thread of something that the subconscious mind has thrown down, but then it's not able to make sense of it because the two parts of you are not talking to each other, you know? Whenever you're in that sort of situation, wherever the moon feels like it's at play, right? Wherever, in fact, your emotions appear to be being played on, there's usually a reason why it's not sitting comfortably with you. Part of you has already worked it out. The bit of you that gets to decide what you're going to do about it doesn't have access to that information yet. But there's something here going on. Muddying of the waters, like I said. And this Four of Cups. You know, are you being emotionally manipulated at this point, Virgo? I think that's possible for at least some of you. Is somebody playing on the fact that you have a fear of being rejected and a fear of being abandoned? Possibly. But all I know is that you're trying to put a lot of things together because I think there's a direction that you want to travel in and nothing is making sense. So when we come into what's coming towards you here in November, we have the Queen of Pentacles and we have the Emperor card. Now, it's not immediately clear whether this Aries energy here is directly related to the Queen of Wands, in so much as it is a stepping up of that energy in November. It's quite likely for some of you that it is, and if it is, whilst it would lead to an escalation in this kind of energy, and I already think that you've been kind of rocking some of this for a little while anyway, it is pushing it to such a point that it's kind of like it's bringing it out into the open. I don't think that is the only way to interpret that, but I think that it's important to address it because we've got it here with the Queen of Pentacles, right? That's your queen. It's actually Capricorn rather than Virgo because you are the Knight of Pentacles, right? But it's your queen, so it's about the internal experience that you are having right now, right? But it's a step up. It's a step up from the Knight of Pentacles where you kind of step down into the page where you are right now. It's like almost having to come back to basics and going, right, well, there was this and this and this and this. You know, like that kind of methodical energy that for which, you know, Virgo is really quite well known. And then bringing the Queen of Swords to bear on what it is that you have worked out. You know, from there, it's almost implied that you can hop back up to the Knight of Pentacles and then move to the Queen. Because the other way of reading this is that the Emperor is actually your energy coming into bear. It's very strong and it's very masculine, and it is by definition then assertive as fuck. I've just noticed that we have the Emperor also sitting at the bottom of this deck here too. It's about taking charge. Now, I honestly think whichever way around it happens, if you do have an Aries-like personality, they don't have to be an Aries, and you know, quite likely it might be in their, you know, moon or their ascendant or something like that, so you might not know who they were anyway. We're talking about somebody who has the characteristics of, in your case, certainly like some of the more negative aspects of Aries or the Emperor archetype, or even the Queen of Wands. Actually, this is somebody who needs to be in charge for the sake of it. This is somebody whose ego is absolutely wrapped up in the idea that they are always right about things. This is somebody who has a very, very strong controlling streak. Again, you know, the possibility that the controlling streak belongs to you and this is what you're doing to yourself in your own self-work, you kind of coming up against all of these bits of your personality that are coming out, is not something that can be ignored. But in whatever version of this applies, what we have is a step up from you. We've got the Page of Cups, we've got the Two of Pentacles, we've got the Death card, and we've got the Ten of Wands appearing underneath all of those. And I like this Page of Cups and I like the Two of Pentacles, because it's that same energy of kind of breaking things down into its basic form and going, well, what is actually the truth of all of these component parts? And if you put them all together, can they in any way make this situation that somebody is trying to put forward to me? It's like my it's like my granddad always used to say, you're pissing down my neck and telling me it's raining. Like, is that true? It's quite a crass statement, but I mean, it conveys a lot, right? If it is that you have somebody around you who is trying to steamroll you into a particular set of decisions, into seeing the situation a particular way, and a way that doesn't sit with you very well, then I feel like in November they're going to overplay their hand, and there is no way then that it is that you can be taken in by this anymore, right? There's too much of it that is revealed, there's too much that is obvious. In fact, that would fit beautifully with the idea of a lunar cycle being involved here, right? Particularly if hang on, I'm going to have to check this because I'm sure it's a new moon on the 25th. Let's pull up the moon up. You can tell I'm not an astrologer, can't you? I do pay attention, but I do forget. Yeah, it's a waning crescent. So, next phase of the moon is going to be a new moon at 11:49 a.m. on the 25th of October for me in the UK. New moon to full moon, right? We go from darkness to brilliant bright light, right? We've got release happening up here. If that is true for you, then this hand is overplayed and all will be revealed, right? What is hidden currently will be revealed, and that's cool. If you don't have one of those personalities involved here, then this is about kind of bossing up, really, Virgo. It's almost sort of picking yourself up by the scruff of the neck and going, I cannot continue in this vein anymore. I cannot be bothered to be sitting here feeling like I don't know what's going on and I'm in the dark with X, Y, and Z. Right? I'm gonna create my plan of how I move forwards, and I'm not going to pay that too much attention to what anybody else is trying to tell me at this point. Now, a huge part of that is going to revolve around examination of some emotions that feel kind of uncomfortable. And I'm not sure why they would, but they are. Nevertheless, they're feeling uncomfortable. And then applying the Two of Pentacles to them. Now, the Two of Pentacles is that kind of juggling energy of like working things through. But it feels like that energy of going back to basics. What can I control? What can I not? Which fork in the road am I going to take? Does it matter if I pick a fork in the road, or do I just keep plodding because eventually all roads lead to the same place? Certainly where I am at the moment, you know. The thing that I really like about this Page of Cups is the peculiarity of the light in the card. Now, that to me feels like sunset or sunrise, or even eclipse, actually. There's a kind of eclipse-ish sort of energy about it. It's just kind of odd. It feels surreal. It gives a really surreal feel to a card that is actually inherently fucking surreal in the first place anyway. But then we have the Two of Pentacles. We have you being practical and grounded about it and going, right, well, what do I need to do to sort all of this out? And what do I need to do to change it? What do I need to do so that I stop feeling so fucking burdened right here? You know, I point out this card all the time because I really, really like the fact that it is the only deck where the person, the character in the card has put the burden down. You can talk about doing things the wrong way or doing things the hard way around, you know, all those sorts of things. But ultimately, when you're looking at somebody struggling as we always see on that 10 of Wands. So the really obvious first move is to put the fucking burden down. Is it possible for you to think under all of that pressure? Possibly not. Is it possible for you to plan what you're going to do next while you're working so hard? Well, probably not too. Something needs to change. Now, that feeling of surprise that I spoke about right at the beginning of the reading, it does feel like something is going to come in sideways that's going to catalyze this along for you somewhat. But the change starts in here first. So whether it is a case of rejecting what you have been told, rejecting, what you possibly have been shown too, we're moving into a period of astrology where I've heard several astrologers say, believe nothing of what you see and only half of what you hear in the next wee while. Now, this could be playing itself out on the micro level, like literally in your life at this point, but it certainly will be extrapolated up over the next 6 to 8 weeks on the macro level. Everything feels very muddy, and it feels very surreal, and it feels very strange, and for a reason. Right? That is almost like your warning sign. That's the thing that's saying it's time for you to stop trying to engage with people on the level that they are engaging with you at, right? Because although we don't have any strict card of deception here, there is something always slightly deceptive about the moon energy as it's showing up here. And the fact that this Knight of Swords is showing up reversed twice tells me that information isn't flowing in the way that it should be. Possibly you're being told things that aren't true, but possibly you're not being told things that are relevant and that you need to know. And this is why the puzzle's not making sense to you, Virgo. This is why you can't put all of the things in the right place, because you don't actually have all of the pieces. Somebody's told you that the puzzle needs to be done, 90 degrees from where you're actually doing it. November sees you going back to basics and paying considerably less attention to all of this influence over here, and a little bit more attention to the problem that is in front of you as it directly relates to you, to your emotions, to you practically, and what you're going to do about it practically. But in a broader sense, how you're going to bring all of this to an end, the level of influence that it has on you, or just the situation at all in front of you, and how you're going to take charge. Like I said though, there is this surprise element. Maybe the surprise is that it's easier than you think it is, right? Maybe you are just too close to everything at the moment, and in taking a step back, which is what we saw here, and we see this escalation of sword energy accumulating with the Four of Swords, saying like, I don't see things clearly at the moment. I literally have to step back from this, and then all the pieces sort of fall into place. Or whether there's some sort of catalyst that happens that causes almost like an involuntary Four of Swords, where it's not your choice to step back, but you get pushed back in some sort of way. I'm not sure. But the important thing to take away from this reading is that however strange and surreal and foggy everything feels at the moment, it will be replaced with absolute crystal clarity by the end of the month. Not even the end of the month. It'll be just before the end of the month. You will know exactly what you need to do. You'll know what you think about X, Y, and Z. And the fog, the possible delusion, the possible deception, whatever it is that is indicated over here, will just burn away. Like the sun burning off the fog in the morning, on a hot day. Right, this is very interesting to me. I'm going to go over to Vimeo now and pull this apart a little bit. So if you would like to join me over there, you're very welcome. The link is down in the description box. That will take you to Vimeo. There's also a link to my circle community if you would like to come and join that. That's below that. What else do I have to tell you? No, I think that's it. But if you've no interest in going to the extended, which is absolutely fine, just know that this too shall pass. Right? Just thing. This too shall pass. I can't tell you how much that phrase has kept me alive at points. Especially when my twins were really young. And feeding every fucking 3 hours, every 2 hours. Or it's every 2 hours. I can't remember the first 6 months of their life. I was just exhausted mess. This too shall pass. And it's going to pass swifter than you think. So if you can maintain a bit of patience with yourself, where possible a little bit of detachment, try not to let the swords mount up too much, but I actually think the swords mounting is part of the process. And trust that by the end of the month, all of the things that currently seem unclear, all of the actors that are seemingly trying to obfuscate things, will have all been set back and put in their place, and quite likely by you, actually, as I see it here. So, I shall leave it there. Know that I love you all very, very much, and I will see you soon.